Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, in Yoruba land we have a term, a phrase called Jayoba, which means the king. It loosely translates to mean that the king can do as he pleases, because in Yoruba culture, you see, the king is deemed as being above the average person, and he has that license to act as he pleases, because we call the king, or somebody that has like a king status, Alashe Ikejori Orisha, which is the owner of authority, second only to a deity. So is almost a godlike person, a king within the Yoruba kingdom. And so we have that Jayoba mentality, which then entitles the king to do as he pleases. But then the Oluwo of Iwoland is somebody that seems to be taking this to the extremes, because this chap now, ever since he became the king of that respected kingdom, has been acting in ways that I can only really describe as the conduct of a tout. You know, I've shown clips of him in London before, and I'll see if I can find that clip again, so just to show you an example of the sort of person this guy is. So now there are rumors that he's now also now going to contend. Actually, before I tell you that rumor, there's also this thing with him that is now saying he wants to be known as the Emir of Iwoland rather than the Oba of Iwoland. Now, in Yoruba culture, in Yoruba tradition, in our own hegemony, we have Obas. We don't have Emirs. Emirs belong to the Northerners, because the Northerners obviously have an affiliation with that Arab-like culture, and they take their inspiration from there. But we're indigenous people, and our own hegemony is the Obaship. You know, the Obaships, their laughings, the Onis. This is how we term our rulers, and we don't have emirs in Yoruba land. But this chap now is now coming up with the idea that he wants to be an emir. So there's also this controversy of him going to contend an imam's wife with him. An imam of a local church is trying to, you know, pursue the imam's wife to the point that the imam has had to come out in the public space to cry out that the Oba is doing this. So now guys, I bring you this. Oluwo of Iwoland, Oba Abdul Rashid Akande's unending controversy. So that's the headline. Oluwo of Iwoland, Oba Abdul Rashid Akande's unending controversy. So that's the title of the piece. Now to the body. It is amazing how the Oluwo of Iwoland, Oba Abdul Rashid Akande, loves to court controversy. Since he ascended the throne in 2015, so he's fairly new an Oba, and already his name is always linked with all these over-dramatic sort of things. So since he ascended the throne in 2015, his name has almost become synonymous with controversy. Sadly, this alleged seemingly undisciplined attitude seems to be gaining attention in the public domain. Already, some of his actions and comical displays in public are said to be giving some of his subjects grave concern. But it seems he doesn't care a hoot, even as he is being nicknamed King Controversy. However, if you think the former Canada-based monarch is ready to kick this habit soon, you had better have a rethink. Society Watch gathered that the flamboyant monarch is squaring up for another fight with the top Muslim cleric in the ancient town. He was said to have chased and embarrassed the Islamic cleric Alhaji Nurin Ashiru Adio out of the prayer ground during Eid al-Fitr ceremony on Tuesday, June 4, 2019. As if this was not enough, he was also said to have warned the cleric to henceforth stop appearing at the town's central mosque. A source revealed that the monarch took up the cleric, who was also a top member of Iwo Board of Trustees, because of his alleged loyalty to Chief Abiola Ogundokun, whom he has been having a running battle with since 2017. Many claim that Ogundokun contributed to Oba Akonde's emergence as the king of the ancient town, but there has not been any love lost between them since the monarch reportedly revoked Ogundokun's chieftaincy titles. So now there you have this chap yet again engrossed in another controversy. It's a drama a minute with this fella that looks like he's bleaching his skin anyway. So it's a king that bleaches his skin, chases Imam's wife, and wants to be called Emir as opposed to Oba, which is the tradition of his people, a tradition that's lasted centuries, which he is now trying to rebrand because apparently he's been to Canada and therefore he now thinks that now makes him a civilized person. But being civilized, of course, is not getting on a plane and going to a foreign land, is a mindset. So the uncivilized ways of this guy is a growing cause of concern for its subjects, and is certainly a growing cause of concern for me as a Yoruba man as well, because this is not at all the sort of presentation that we want an Oba to be showing in public. An Oba is if you want to know what an Oba is, then go and look at the history of T0UT, the former Oni of Ife, a gentleman, a quietly spoken man. Go and look at the history of the Sultan of Sokoto, a quietly spoken man, a gentleman. Go and look at the history of the former Emir of Kano, not the current one, Ado Bayero. Go and look at his history, a quietly spoken man, a gentleman. So this is the presentation of an Oba or an Emir. You know, this is they are not touts, they are not politicians, they are certainly not celebrity, because this chap, he wants to be a celebrity, he wants to be an Instagram happening chap, he wants to be a Facebook fella, he wants to be popping, he wants to be the Tonto Dike and Regina Daniels of the space, but then he also wants to be an Oba. But then you can't have the two. If you want to be a Yahoo person, then go and Yahoo, and then you and EFCC will be contending it with Naira Marley. But if you want to be an Oba, you stay in the palace, you judge matters pertaining to your domain and your dominion, you bring settledness to your domain and your dominion, and prosperity and calm and ease, you do all the things that you need to do for the enhancement of your dominion. Not acting like a tout, fighting imams, and then saying that you want to be an emir and saying you are Majayi and all this kind of mentality. So now this guy is a real now character that now causes concern for not just his domain, but for the whole of the Yoruba race, because this is now a growing thing within the Obaship of the Yoruba land. That is something that we now need to address and redress. And the tempo of this was set by the Oni of Ife, who is quite a flashy guy. You would recall that this guy is always very flashy, you know, with all these accoutrements that he travels with, and you hear him coming 10 miles away with the beating of the drums and the whooplas and the hooplas, you know. So all this sort of behavior, you know, but at least he has the money to back it up. I don't know how wealthy this one is. This one strikes me as a Toro Kobo kind of fella, but I think he feels he's in rivalry with the Oni of Ife for the contention of the position of the new generation type Oba. Out of the whole lot of them, actually, the Alaafin of Oyo is even better presented. He's a man well in his 90s, but he's a boxer, an intellectual, somebody that is very vested and satiated in Yoruba history. This is somebody that is documenting the Yoruba hegemony and is inviting people from abroad to come and record the history of his people. Yes, he lives the life of an Oba and he takes a young wife every now and then, but then we have that Jayi Oba thing that I spoke of earlier. So he has the fiat of Obaship to do as he pleases, but then he tempers that with an intellect and a capacity and an understanding that the need of the people has to be met, because even though an Oba is a hereditary thing, you rule really at the behest and at the consent of the people, because if the people turn completely against you, then you have no people to rule over. You know, if the people turn completely against you, then you have no people to rule over. And this has are some of the things that people like this element here do not really seem to have a full grasp of. He thinks that this is just an opportunity to be flashy, to get all the women, and to go bling bling and blang blang. He thinks, I don't know, maybe he thinks it's the puff daddy of Yoruba land or something, I don't know. But this certainly sort of behavior is not one that sits with the Yoruba mindset, because the Yoruba mindset is cultured, is satiated, is seated within a history that dates back almost to the beginning of time. And we have histories and stories in the Yoruba pantheon that goes back all the way to creation. So this is an ancient people that have been doing things in a certain way for a very long time. So we don't want this Canada boy coming in to cause ruckus and turn the place into like Adegunle Central with the flashy behavior and chasing Imam's wife and revoking titles from people who have been in the system longer than he has been alive. You know, this sort of hoodlum-like behavior, I probably would describe it, is not one that sits. And this is not the first time that I'm marking this guy's card, by the way. So I flash him up again. The Oluwo of Iwoland is the name that we're conjuring with now. Oba Abdul Rashid Akande is the name that is riding under, and the presentation is one that jars the senses slightly. Conversations in the comment section, this is what we usually do here. But before you come join me in the comment section to have a conversation, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. Click on the bell button, that way you're notified every time I drop a new video. Then come join me in the comment section. Let me know what you are making of this. So I'll leave you here, meet you in the comment section. But here I say peace.